It's so tempting to look at the screen.
Don't be a noob.
Isn't it? Yeah, I know. How is it possible to understand and fully 100% subscribe to the fact that we serve a God, Yahweh, who is in complete control of everything, and at the same time still do our best? Maybe you don't really see that as a contradiction, but I think that's something that we both have really wrestled with. So there was a time in my life whenever I was just really on top of my life. I was really on top of things. I was working in sales, and I was getting up super early in the morning. And not only was I getting up and getting somewhere super early in the morning, but I was getting up, getting dressed, like really spiffy dressed, getting, all slick looking, going somewhere, being there on time, scheduling appointments. I was also an office manager. I was doing that. I was in school, so I'm like executing homework right whenever it's supposed to be done. And I got really into this thing called life coaching, which takes on all kinds of different meanings. And I think some of them are good and some are bad. This was kind of the life coaching I was subscribing to was very pragmatic. Whenever you're evaluating, should this be a part of my life or should this not be a part of my life? One of the main, if not the main question that you were to ask yourself in determining if you should continue with it is this working for me? And that is, by definition, pragmatism. I mean, that's pragmatics, and that's not Christianity. That's what I was really subscribing to, and if I can just be really frank, it was working. I mean, I was getting stuff done. I was accomplishing goals. I was getting on top of it. And then I got really close to Jesus. Jesus really came and kind of, cut my knees out from underneath me, got my attention, and I went all in with Jesus, and I saw how what I was subscribing to was not really Christianity. And so I rejected it to the hilt. And, whenever I would sit in any meetings and they would talk about, let's set goals, I would just be like, you guys are a bunch of pagans, just submitting to this modern culture that, God's in control. So I don't have to set any goals. I don't have to do anything like that. And I literally, for years now, have kind of believed that and really struggled with that. And then it got to where I saw, okay, there are great men of God, mentors of mine even, that are setting goals and moving towards them, and that doesn't seem to hinder the relationship with the Lord, and it doesn't seem to really interfere with their walk in the Spirit. So what am I not understanding? What Dallas Willard says has really stuck with me. He tells us to do your best, but don't trust your best. So one thing that I've really been wrestling with is I'll go on this crazy pendulum ride where I'm just not going to do anything, or I'm not going to do anything unless Father tells me to do it. And I went through a season where it's like, well, God didn't tell me to do it, so I'm not going to do it. I remember really being challenged by you and by your studies and just mentors, that sometimes Yahweh invites us to use our wisdom and our intelligence that He's gifted us with to pursue Him and to pursue a life that is honoring to Him. And I remember hearing that and receiving that and saying, okay, so I'm just going to start taking control again. And so I kind of pendulum swung back to the other, where it's like, okay, well, I'm going to do everything because God's wanting to do this mighty thing, and I'm going to kind of help Him do it. And then Father would get my attention, and then I would come back over here to the other side, and He'd take something away, or completely foil my plans or whatever, and I would come back to the other side, and I'd say, okay, well then just forget everything. None of it matters. He's going to do everything. I'm not going to do anything. He's in control. I'm not in control. How dare I try to take control? And it's just been going back and forth for me for about a year now. I'll go back and forth. But the idea of doing your best and not trusting your best is something that I've really been trying to meditate on and trying to understand a little bit deeper. And I think it's almost as if Yahweh is inviting us to use what He's given us to plan and to set goals and to execute as best as we possibly can. But at the end of the day, whenever we erect this, whatever it is that we work so hard on, to literally pour ourselves into it and giving it all we have, and really whenever we're pouring ourselves into it, we're pouring what He's given us into it, right? Because we're pouring our talents and our treasures and our time and all that we have into it, but that's all what He's given us. So we're pouring that into this wonderful plan. That's what we'll call it. It can be much more than that though, and we're looking at that, and what's really hard is that sometimes Father tells us, okay, now to wipe that off the board, it's rubbish. It's garbage. That's not what I have for you. I have something much better for you. And it's like, but what's much better doesn't seem like it's much better oftentimes whenever he offers it to us. And we work so hard on this. We work so hard on this. So it can be really easy to just, flip the table up and just say, well, screw everything. It doesn't matter. Forget it. And you just take it. You take control, God. You're in control anyway. I'm not going to do anything. But he's not calling us to be spectators in life either. So it's the idea of doing your best, but not trusting it, not letting it be rubbish if it needs to be rubbish, letting it be garbage if it needs to be garbage. If there's something better that God has, just letting it disintegrate into nothing. Get it? Or maybe it's not rubbish. Maybe we use our wisdom and we use our talents and we use our gifts and we use our intellect and we use all the resources that Father has given us in all the ways that he's blessed us. And with him in mind, we construct this plan. Maybe he says it's rubbish. Maybe he says, I've got something better for you. Or maybe it's what he uses to glorify him. Maybe it's what he uses to bless others. Maybe it's what he uses to bless us and our families. Maybe, but if that's the case, then we still treat it as though it's not ours to begin with, because he gave us the gifts and the resources to have it in the first place. So he gets the credit either way. If it's something that we work really hard and we get to participate in building and constructing, then it's not us pulling ourselves up by our bootstraps, especially if we do it with the knowledge and the submission to Father while we're doing it, understanding that he's in control and that he's given us the gifts to do it. And then if it's not what he asks for us, being willing to just say, I worked really hard on this. I've shed some tears, shed some blood, I've sleepless nights for this, but if you've got something better, here's the thing, and here's what's really hard. I know I wasn't wrong in doing any of that because I poured out my heart and soul with as best as I could, but I'm willing to let it go because you say you've got something better. That's hard. That's really difficult. So I'm starting to get back into the goal setting world. I bought a planner the other day, which I've been anti-planner for so long, but I've gotten back into it. I used to be really into it, but I've gotten back into it now. Setting goals, writing them down, journaling, things like that, and I'm welcoming, at least I think I'm welcoming, I hope I'm welcoming whatever it is that Yahweh has in store for me and for us.
So doing your best, but not trusting your best, or doing my best, but not trusting my best. For me, it manifests in my life in struggling with control and surrender. And a lot of times, controlling comes in the form of trying to help for me, or at least that's how I guess it disguises itself, or it plays out in my mind. I'll see someone that has a burden and I'll take that burden upon myself, oftentimes because I don't know how that person or how somebody else might resolve an issue, and that unknown causes me anxiety, but I know how I would resolve it. And even if it's going to be detrimental to me, or it's going to be difficult for me, or maybe I don't even feel like I have the answer, it's still in my control. I don't know if anyone else struggles with just being you'd rather drive than ride shotgun, because even if you're overly tired or have a lot on your mind or have other things distracting you, you'd still rather be driving. That's kind of just my whole life. I always rather be in the driver's seat. Also, control for me looks like having knowledge. So acquiring as much information as possible about the situation. I'm just confident that I'm going to be able to find a solution, and there's one answer to the problem, and if I can just find that answer, then all will be well, and I have a sense of security with that. So I put trust in my ability to find the right answer and I guess implement the solution, instead of doing my best but not trusting that what I concoct is going to ultimately be the answer, that it's not trusting in my power, but trusting in God. He invites me to participate so that he can speak to me through the situation, so that he can guide me, so that we can form a closer bond, and so that he can again remind me I'm not in control, he's in control. But ultimately, if I continue to surrender rather than rather than grasping at control and trusting in my own ability. If I continue to surrender to Him and trust in Him for the outcome, then the prosperity will be a prosperous relationship with Him, a deepening intimacy with my Creator.
It's basically doing your best but not trusting your best. Really what it boils down to is just an understanding and a willingness to submit to the fact that you're not the best. Mm-hmm. And that's hard because we can get so invested in our ideas and our way and our plan that we can begin to just assume, even subconsciously, I believe, that it's best.
I know sometimes I always say tunnel vision, that what I have planned is the plan. Sometimes when He takes it all away, everything that we were building, it is to just leave us with nothing but Him. And it's a refining process, just to boil us down to worshiping God for who He is, not even for what He does, let alone for what we can do, but just worshiping Him for who He is.
Because He's Him.
Because He's Him. So what is it for you? Can you identify a place in your life where you are doing your best, but trusting your best, or you're not doing your best, or trusting His best? What is it for you? Does it look more like what it is for Kingston, where you struggle with maybe procrastination or being a workaholic, or is it kind of more like my journey where I struggle with control and anxiety and trusting and just surrendering that it's all in His hands and leaving it there? What is it for you? What does it manifest in your life? You can comment below and share with us where you are on your journey.
And we'd love to be praying for you in that. So we're going to close this out. If you've watched the video up to this point, then you're probably the type of people or the type of person that we're hoping to speak into, and we're hoping to help, and we're hoping to invite along on this journey with us. So if you have watched it up to this point, then we really want to encourage you. If you haven't already, click the subscribe button. Make sure you ring the church bell next to it, so that YouTube will send you notifications letting you know whenever we upload a new video, which hopefully will be every Thursday eventually whenever we get into a rhythm. As we leave, we really want to encourage you guys to seek Jesus and to seek the Spirit, so that we can anchor ourselves in the truth of His gospel and the reality of His love and abide in Him.